What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers, and today is Tuesday. I wanted to do a quick update on Enovix Corporation, ticker symbol ENVX, listed here on the NASDAQ. Stock went on a rip today, up, still sitting here north of $16 a share, got above 17 here for a little bit. Stock was up over 40% on the news that they won a contract here to provide silicon batteries for mixed reality headsets, right? So technically, good news. Of course, we did not get any financial details were not disclosed, right? So for all we know, unfortunately, again, not trying to rain on your parade, but unfortunately this could be for, 5 million, 10 million bucks. And now after the big pop, we're talking about a multi-billion dollar company. So we might see a pullback here, and it might be inevitable, really. But as we see here, Enovix said it will receive an immediate one-time payment for tooling to support battery pack dimensions, as well as further payments for the delivery of both sample and production quantities. So technically good news. And of course, because the stock was quiet for a while, we had a big explosion here today. RSI kind of looks topped out, in my opinion. But if we go back to the last time the stock was on the up and up here and then exploded, we can see we broke up above 20. And if we just extend this previous kind of range trend line that we were in last time, you can see that hypothetically, if we do continue to run here, of course, after this big pop, we could come down and then we could have another pop and then we could go flat and then we could have another pop, right? So we know it might take a couple of days to get here. But as you see, this top trend line here looking like potentially about 21.5. But the reason why I think this might be short-lived is because the company, we looked at it last time when they reported earnings, and we can see that revenue now is actually coming in. Estimates were 3.7 million. The company posts 5.2 million, and the stock jumped from, the low sixes, jumped up to the nines, and it was in this upward channel here, getting as high as about 14. Then we pull back to about 12, and now we have a pop up to 17. So, I mean, the stock was brought down to new lows here of sub 6 and is now at 17 today. So that's quite a move on 5 million for the quarter and a deal that we don't have financials on, right? So again, I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I mean, it might be for 20 million, might be for 50 million. So, of course, again, regardless of what it's for, I appreciate the fact that it's positive news and the stock is getting a big pump today. But, of course, again, in my opinion, this is a little bit of an overreaction. Just remember, other companies who are generating more revenue and have been beating earnings for the most part consistently, right? Look at companies like SoundHound. SoundHound, when it goes on those tears, it usually immediately gives it right back. And looking at a company like this, again, 5 million last quarter, before that, 7 million, before that, basically no revenue, right? So the company brought in $12 million over the last 6 months and then just got this deal. And now the market cap explodes to about 3 billion. Now we've pulled back to 2.75 billion. But I'm pretty sure you understand the gist of what I'm saying. But we're still expecting losses here on the EPS side moving forward. Steam friend, my apologies. And again, revenue just started to come in. So obviously, my logic tells me that this is a little bit overvalued. However, I will say this, if you remember, people wanted some updates on this as we were pulling back. And I said, in my opinion, this stock really should drop to like $6, $5. I laid out this trend line, potentially the low of the low, looking like 4.5. But people kept asking me, for updates down here, and they were like, oh, it's at about 6.5, it's at 6, what do you think? And I said, in my opinion, at around $6, it was worth taking a position, right? That's on record. I said that in previous videos. So obviously, if you got involved at like 876 on this way down, obviously you're sitting pretty right now and you're up a big chunk. So over the longer term, if you're not looking to sell these shares here now in the short term and you're looking for longer term growth, very, very understandable, right? But of course, if you're up, 150, 200%, it could be hard to stick to your guns and kind of hang on to the situation. But we do know that Enovix, usually when it gets trending and news comes out and all the kids get pumped about it, it keeps going. because this is what happened last time. We were in this rising wedge here. I mentioned here at like 16, 18 that in my opinion this is an overreaction and it should start pulling back, and the stock ended up running to almost 24. So that's why I'm saying I figured I'd draw out this trend line to potentially see how high we can go, because I have a feeling that the hype might continue and we could potentially see about 21.5 back up to this trend line. But again, overall, looking at the numbers, in my opinion, it is now drastically overvalued, and it just always amazes me that these companies that have done nothing for years and finally do something, or these companies that get this news just like ASTS, right? ASTS, they were completely delayed. They posted a couple of 100,000 for the quarter when they were supposed to be up to what, like 3-4 million already they were supposed to be generating. But then they announced, oh yeah, we extended the deal with AT&T. Oh, but no financials are disclosed. And the stock goes from 2 to 6 or wherever it went. And that was before the Verizon news came out. So I'm just really amazed that companies that are actually doing business and growing aren't seeing the same type of reactions as companies who have been just kind of dead in the water for 3 years before something finally happens. Or a situation like this, like, yeah, they got an order, but we have no financials. And for all we know, it could be $3 million of an order, which is a drop in the bucket when we look at the valuation now. But the stock explodes 40%. Look at the volume coming in today. So, you know, sometimes it really does throw me for a loop, because I just feel like we are rewarding the wrong companies with the right type of moves. And again, since earnings, the stock went from new lows of sub 6 to today $17 a share. And only a couple of $1 million technically was brought in during that time frame. So again, if we find out, you know, down the road all of a sudden, you know, that deal was worth like 100 million, then I can understand, right? But that's what I mean. Like I always say, men lie, women lie, numbers do not lie. So until we see the numbers, we don't know if this is justified. Is this an overreaction? Will it immediately come down? Will it continue to run? But on the technical side, we can see the RSI has now kind of topped out. It's up here at about 77 here on the daily. We're well above the top Bollinger Band of about 14.5. Stock still sitting above 16. The MACD technically just crossed to the downside, and we can see that the stock was pulling back, approaching that mid-Bollinger Band again, and then we get the news today. So boom, we spike back up and cross back to the upside. That's why I'm saying we could maybe take a day or two to pause, and then we might see another pop up to 19, 20. Who knows? Who knows? Because like I said, in my opinion, I am noticing that these underperforming stocks and these zombie stocks, these are the ones that you guys are piling into and exploding. And again, in my opinion, it really doesn't add up to me, because there are a lot of other companies out there that are growing nicely, have strong fundamentals, they seem solid, they're in good sectors. In my opinion, they're fair valued, they're undervalued. And those are the ones that really aren't moving. Those are the ones that you guys don't pay attention to, or you don't even know that they exist or trade public. But again, something like Enovix, oh, they make silicon batteries, and the stock goes from new lows of sub 6 to $17 just within 2 months. But, you know, again, you guys know that, you know, I'm a very black and white individual, right? It's hard for me to see the gray area sometimes. And I'm honest about it. But that's why a situation like this, in my opinion, a little bit of an overreaction, but we know the hype is there. But I will say, if we look here, we can see weekly, we can see that as we have these big pops, excuse me, too much coffee. As we have these big pops, we hit these highs, and then we kind of immediately sell off and give it back, right? And we can see that technically we're making lower highs here, and we are making lower lows, right? So over the long run, it does seem like we're in this downward channel still. And if we look at how the highs are coming out and then dropping down and selling off, that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, we might not run too much more, and then we might start pulling back. But if you're asking me if I would, you know, consider buying puts, I mean, realistically, in my opinion, I think it goes back to like the moving average here of like 11, because this is a massive overreaction. However, like I said, again, last time when I thought it was a little high at 18, 19, it kept going and went to 22, 23. So it's hard to time a situation like this. And also remember, if you're an options trader, because it just moves so much, options are probably going to be drastically more expensive than they were just a few days ago. And we recently saw a situation like a Hershey. Again, a couple of days ago, stock was at like 182. This morning at the open, the stock almost hit 192, right? So there's money to be made. That's the point I'm trying to make. There's, excuse me, there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of profits that could be secured with a lot of other companies out there, as opposed to just kind of hoping and praying, oh, Enovix, hopefully we get good news and it pops today and my calls work out. Or hopefully, I bought puts, so this is an overreaction and the stock pulls back to 12 tomorrow. Like, sometimes I understand more risk, more reward. But also at the end of the day, remember, your job, technically, in my opinion anyway, your job is not to be a financial genius or brag to everyone on stock twits. Oh, I just made 2,800%. I'm a genius. I knew it was coming. Yes, it's nice, and of course when we see big green, we're extremely excited. But at the end of the day, if you can buy quote unquote safer, more secure positions that you kind of know or have high conviction are going to play out, you can generate good returns for yourselves without having to risk it in a company you might not know much about, or, betting against a meme rally, hoping that, you made the right call. And like I said, you look like a genius. It's just not worth it. If you guys saw my Hershey video last week and you bought 190, 195 calls, you probably made out very well this morning if you decided to take the money and run. And again, everyone knows Hershey. We saw it was at a discount, and it just ran 10 points just over the last couple of days. So that's why I always say work smarter, not harder. But Enovix, technically on the weekly, the RSI is still sub 70. It's down here at about 68 and a quarter, which is why I'm saying over the next day or two, if we see like 18, 19 again, I would understand it. But technically in the numbers, because we don't have any numbers, I have to go ahead and stick to my guns and just realistically say that this is a massive overreaction. But of course, anyone who bought these big dips down here at like 7.6, you guys are sitting pretty right now. And if we look at the pivot points, this is what I mean. This is why I'm saying we could potentially see 20 plus again. You can see next resistance 22.11, just got above this pivot point here at 14.31. So now, in my opinion, we have to see if we hold that level. But this is on the weekly. And if we check the daily, we can see we're above now top resistance of 1460. So that's technically the key level to watch. But I do know that a lot of day traders keep an eye on the RSI. So the fact that the stock just went on a big run, a lot of people, in my opinion, may secure profits, lock in that trade. And also the fact that the RSI is up here at 76.5, we might have a down day or two and people might start, like I said, liquidating the position, taking profits, and then hopping the other side of the fence and potentially buying some puts here, buying 15s or 14s maybe for this Friday to try to catch that drop and that sell-off, that pullback to the support level, and then maybe potentially step back in if it closes above it. But a situation like this, we know that sometimes now the technicals take over the fundamentals, and that's why, in my opinion, you have to keep an eye on things like the VWAPs, your support, your resistance levels, these trend lines that we drew out, and of course your RSI, which apparently plays a pretty big factor for a lot of day traders. But hey, shout out to all shareholders. I'm very happy for you guys. And I know it's news like this that, of course, is going to help add value down the road to Enovix. But, like I said, I'm a very black and white guy, and numbers do speak volume. And that's why I wouldn't personally get too excited about this move until I hear about those actual financials that weren't disclosed. If the deal was for $5, $7, $12 million, this is an overreaction. If the deal was for $100 million, this might be justified, even though it might still be viewed as an overreaction. But again, going from 7 million, 5 million, boom, all of a sudden you get an order for like 90 million, 110 million. Now that's a game changer technically. So that's why, this could be really good news and we could just be getting started. But at the end of the day, until we see the numbers, we can't view it as a quote unquote concrete move, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to end it there. There's not much more to say. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. Hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.